It'd be nuts because, like, if they come out with, like, size locker room, Brees Hall, Purdy jerseys, I think that site will crash in, like, 12 hours because
They sell out. They can't make enough.
Welcome back to another episode of Sound the Sirens. I'm your host, Thomas Orness, and today I've got my childhood best friend and Devon Clark, and we're going to talk about various topics. We're going to talk about playoff expansion. We're going to talk players being paid since the Supreme Court ruling came out last week or a couple days ago that players can be paid July 1st, and that's quite the shift of college athletics. I think is a good one, but we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about how which past Iowa State players could have made the most money, and we're also going to talk about an NFT. Like, if you guys know what that is, it's like a virtual play. It's like a card. It's like a trading card. Which play in Iowa State history would have been the most? Would be like the highest priced one?
Most memorable.
So, like, which one of these topics you want to start out with, Devon?
Yeah, so let's start out with the playoff expansion to 12.
All right.
I think that's pretty unique. We knew it always was 2, and then when it got to 4, the very next day on ESPN, it was is it going to be 8? Is it going to be 12? When's it going to be 16? I think that's it was inevitable when it was going to start, and I think it's pretty crazy though.
Yeah, it's going to help out a lot of the revenue missed out on COVID. It's going to help out these schools that obviously missed out on the stadiums like not being full.
Yep.
I think it's just that mixed with the players getting paid. I think it's very progressive with a sport that's been anti-progressive for the longest time, and I did like a couple papers on it in high school how players should be paid, and it's nuts how like out of the blue, it's like, oh, it's here. Players are going to be paid in like a couple days. Like me and you and maybe Chris could do a podcast on what we want the college football video game, because growing up, me and you played that game many times.
Hours. Every day.
Whenever that was pulled from us, it was heartbreaking. And I remember when we were playing on the Wii, you and shout out your dad, Derek Clark.
Oh.
You would refuse to go for 2.
Refuse to kick the extra point. I'd only go for 2.
Yeah, you'd only go for 2. My bad.
Lose every time.
And yeah, it was just a funny story how your dad took you downstairs, and because Derek Clark was a former college player at Iowa State, who I think we'll have on the podcast eventually too, and he didn't like how. Because, like, I would always win by, like, a couple points. 2, 3.
If you're going to play the game, you got to play the game right, Devon. Like, oh, shit, okay.
And, like, yeah, it was just funny how I knew how to kick the extra. I don't know if he didn't know how to kick the extra point.
I refused to. 2 points is better than 1.
And, yeah, like, I don't know if he – that was back when, like, Oregon was, like, the heyday. They'd go for the extra – like, they'd skip the extra point and get as many points as possible.
Yep, run up the scores.
And we kind of watched Oregon a lot. That was like Oregon was like
everyone had an Oregon jersey. Everyone had everything, and then just
like it was crazy how we beat them. And
that was awesome.
We're gonna eventually do a podcast on that one, the very last one, since we got the Texas Tech one coming up this Wednesday or this Saturday. And yeah, that's fun to do. Go look back on the greatest season of the Iowa State's history, our by far
our
lifetime. Like me and you went to like so many duds. How many times we just drive up to Ames from Humboldt
for 4 years straight? We went to every home game. Alan Lazard's freshman year to his senior year, and it was
rough.
There's some tough games.
Yeah, there might be a podcast. I mean, me, you, and Mike, the Kansas State game, that was brutal.
Still haunts me.
It was, and then me and you, shout Craig, or my other co-host, who's with the Todd Blythe interview. If you haven't listened to that one, it's one of the best ones we've done. That was a great interview. He got us tickets for like the 3rd row.
Yep,
remember that
North Dakota State game.
It was Carson Wentz's first start. We had like back then, anything new at Iowa State was like, holy crap, with the uniforms.
Yep.
And we had like the mat helmets.
Because we had the same jerseys, same everything. It just felt like it was just the
Perfect day. It was a perfect day of tailgating. We had the anticipation of. I mean, we weren't good, but like just to have
we got Lazard. We got the number 1 receiver in the nation. We're gonna really take it to him, and then we just get beat by 35. What 20?
I don't remember. It was Carson Wentz showed out.
Dogged on us.
North Coast State was probably could have finished in the upper half of the Big 12. That's how good they were.
Oh yeah.
And like the first couple plays, Quinn Bundard's our best receiver coming in, blows out his knee. And which
we weren't ready for that. No.
We weren't ready for that, and which comes to like show like I remember that makes me like think, what if Quinn Bundars doesn't get hurt and we're in a spot where we don't need Alan Lazard to play right away and we can actually redshirt him. It would have been Lazard and Hakeem Butler's breakout year of Purdy.
Been great. It shows how more depth we have this year and last year compared to like we had that been 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Whatever it was, it just shows how much a better team we are. I think it's great that we. I think if we had one of our star players, it would obviously hurt us, but I think we'd have a guy that someone would step up. Yeah. We got enough leaders now on the team that we'd be
like all right. As you're saying, like you're wearing number 1, Asheem Young, but Tariq Milton last year got hurt, and like former Iowa State teams that would have been devastating. But
it's over.
We go on, still almost win the Big 12, which. Him coming back will be very exciting because he's one of the speedy guys, one of the
exhilarating player. He's awesome to watch.
Yeah, he's like Jarvis West, but on this
something's gonna happen. Yeah, something's gonna happen when he's on the field.
He's a good punt returner.
Let's get back to that. The
playoff.
The playoff 12 team playoff. That's gonna be interesting. How they.
Which that came out of nowhere too, kind of. Which was like, oh, they're gonna get together and see if they're gonna expand to 12, and it's just like they were thinking 8. 8 was like, we just moved to 8, everything will be fine. And then, like, no, 12.
It'll be interesting to the buys, how that'll all work. And then I think it's hard enough to get the top. You got the top 2, but then when you got the top 4, even last year you had Iowa State in the ring. You had many other teams that, like, could make it. I think it's going to be even harder to get that 10, 11, and 12 seed because there's so many teams out there in the Big 10, Big 12, all those teams that could possibly just sneak right in. I think it's going to be really hard to get that.
Yeah, it'll probably just be like SEC gets the last few because of the reputation of being just the best recruits.
Bringing that money in.
And like the home games or the road games, the teams will travel. Like if the pair up 2 South schools to be the playoff, which isn't crazy to think about, like those atmospheres in the South. To like the most rabid fan bases, like of course Iowa State and Iowa have rabid fan bases, but they really take it to a new level down there. And them having like 2 teams that paired up in the South have it like Alabama versus Georgia or Alabama versus even like a rematch with Auburn, that would be
unreal,
absolutely crazy.
It'll be interesting to see because like I'd say we got an Iowa State, we got an Oklahoma. Typically, we got a Baylor. It'd be interesting to see how those if we get a couple teams from the same conference in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they match up, that'd be even.
Yeah, which we talked about lightly in the Todd Blythe interview. Like, imagine if Iowa State and Iowa match up in the playoff.
It'd be unreal. You could have it in Alaska, and that stadium's gonna be filled. You could have it put it anywhere. Those fans would go there.
The whole state of Iowa would just transfer or whatever. But like them, like in Kinnick. In January or whatever the hell it'd be, when a time it would take place, it would be like Lambeau, even if it's like negative 12 degrees out.
It's gonna be filled.
Tailgate lots are gonna be filled.
Great atmosphere. I think now that we're talking about same team conference, let's just say Iowa State plays Oklahoma in regular season,
and then plays in the
conference.
Yeah, and then a couple weeks later plays in the playoff.
We're gonna play a football game.
I feel like them having a committee kind of like makes, and since it's not like computer based, it could have land like that. But like having human beings pick the games, make sure like that doesn't happen. Like Notre Dame, Clemson could have rematched like in the playoff last year. Like how stupid would that have been? Clemson just beats the living crap out of Notre Dame. It's like, all right, you're gonna go play again.
Games would be so much more chippy if you play a team once in college, a bunch of 18-year-old, 19-year-olds slamming heads for 2 games in a row is enough. 3 games would be a little overkill.
Imagine being a player. Like, I mean, that's not fair to Clemson. Like, you just beat the crap out of them, and like, for like 3 or 4 weeks, you have to play them again. I feel like that would be a disadvantage, Clemson.
Yep.
Because like Notre Dame, whatever is with Notre Dame with the playoff, they just get smoked. I mean, that's easy to say for Iowa State or Iowa or a bunch of these teams that go there, Washington, Oregon. They always go to the playoff and get absolutely smoked. And Notre Dame, which will be interesting because they're not in a conference, and even if they're number 1 in the nation, the highest they can go on the playoff is 5. Yep. So, which it'll be interesting to see if they actually take the leap and join the ACC or like even join the Big Ten, because if they get in the division of the Iowa division, they will own that.
Roll it.
They'll own that forever.
So it'd be another thing I like to say is just with the amount of players that we've seen it time and time, maybe especially this year and 2 years ago, with the amount of players that are dropping out of bowl games. Now that we got not just 1 game and
2 more games,
you got 2 more games postseason, how many more players are going to be dropping out?
Which, I don't know, it's just different because you got a national title on the line, and plus we can transition to players getting paid. Like, these bowl games can now pay players.
That was never a thing growing up. Players always played until
until a couple of years ago.
So it's kind of interesting to see how that.
But like, even if they made keep the playoff as is as 4, but players are opting out. Like the Florida team, like half the teams opted out versus Oklahoma. That bowl game with that sponsor can pay the players to play in that game now, which I think would be a game changer.
Keep them playing, because the reason they want to opt out is because of money. Well, if they pay them,
because they can get drafted. Like, don't want the last game, blow out their knee,
they're done.
Which they actually have insurance on that, I think, now. So if like you get injured and like your potential is that you can get drafted, I think there's like an insurance. It's kind of a wacky deal, which with the players getting paid now, I think that will change. So like, you play in Grandview, what's your thoughts on players finally getting compensated for playing?
I think a NAIA player does not have to worry about it, but not at all. But like, your Brock Purdy's, your Lazards. I think just the amount of time that an athlete, especially in football, you got your weightlifting, you got your practice, you got your film studies. Just the amount of time it takes away from your student athlete, the amount of time football takes away from your extracurricular of studying, getting the books. I think it's really hard. It's hard to argue that they shouldn't be paid. Amount of millions of dollars, billions of dollars that it brings into the organizations and NCAA. It's hard to argue that they shouldn't be played, because they're coming to see Alan Lazard. They're coming to see your Brock Purdy's. Like, these are big name guys. Like, they should be.
So like, what do you? I mean, this is like the craziest week ever, because like as we've been saying, we've been talking about like players need to be paid, be in video games, get compensated for the jerseys, and they can have like their own shirts, like run camps in the off season. Now they can do that, which is awesome. I think, which is crazy. Like, the best team in Iowa State history now. Like, I'm not sure how like Iowa State's gonna run it, because like Iowa came out with like a video last week about how they want to empower student athletes for their likeness. Iowa State hasn't said anything about it yet, and it'd be nuts, because like if they come out with like size locker room, Brees Hall, Purdy jerseys, I think that site will crash in like 12 hours, because
sell out. They can't make enough.
Which, like, imagine being little kid, like, which the last couple, like, 5 to 10 years, like, 5 to 8 years, there's been no specific number. Because, like, when we were little, number 1, Todd Blythe. Number 7, Brett Meyer. Number 4, Oster Nod. No name on the back of the jersey, but you know damn well.
You know who that is.
When you get like when Craig or Derek would go to size locker room for your birthday and wrap that up. You unwrap that present. Number 4, it's not Sam B the cornerback. No, it's Austin Arnaud. Which was when you wear that on the playground, it's gonna be. I'm excited for like just being like a fan for little kids is gonna be crazy for like 15, 28 jerseys and Charlie Kohler. Like if you were a little kid, what player would you pick? I mean, we bought China jerseys, but you pick Ashim Young.
I picked Ashim Young. I think he's a great player. Just coming down, just tough little shit. It's awesome.
Like, I think he's everything you wanted to be as like a college athlete.
Oh yeah, tough.
Just
littlest guy out there, but he don't care. He's gonna
just talking shit,
clocking you,
just clocking you. Like, which he's living. You can argue he's playing in the wrong era because if like he played like 20 years ago,
10 years ago, he's all right.
Because like the way he comes up and just lowers the boom,
it's different. It's different. Yeah, I'd say growing up, I'd go with the Purdy or the Brees Hall. I'd be on that.
Yeah, you'd be that guy.
I'd be that guy.
Yeah.
I would be.
Yeah, which
I'd say now I'd be a Kohler.
Yeah,
just like I like the guys that are like everyone knows them, but no one gets their jerseys. Like I feel like when you go to a game, everyone's got their Purdy jerseys. Everyone had their Lajard jerseys. Everyone's got their.
Yeah, you want to like stand out. Like I'm unique. I know what's up because like even like a Xavier Hutchinson jersey. There's so many players.
I might get that Ass Alley jersey. That's what I get that Ass Alley jersey.
Get out of here with that. That I don't know. I'm not sure if you're a little kid that thought I'd fly in Taft Elementary.
I'm not running with that Ass Alley.
Especially like with all of our teachers being Iowa fans, like
no, that
would not fly. So yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see how those players are getting paid with its compensation, like a percentage of like the revenue of their jerseys, because like a Purdy jersey, like you said, size locker room is our size locker room percentage of that going to Purdy. It'd be interesting to see how that all plays out, but I think the waters are so muddy with players getting paid under the table already that this kind of
just like shows the light on it, like how much they can actually get paid when like it's consumer based of like their T-shirts and jerseys, and Purdy can go to like Hickory Park, hey, it's Purdy night, or a Purdy burger or whatever.
I think players getting paid legally through their jerseys or their camps might take away from the legalness of coaches and boosters playing players, where now they have a way to get paid.
Yeah,
that's not our job anymore. We don't have to do it illegally. They can do it themselves now.
Which I think Iowa State's in great hands, because just look at every state. Illinois has the Cubs and the Bears, and like like the South, like Bama. You got we're one of those. Like Bama. Like, you know what I mean? Like pro teams.
We got nothing.
Iowa State's our pro team.
We got the iCubs and the Iowa Wild.
And Iowa Wild, which I don't think they're like lower level.
Yep.
Which Iowa State and Iowa, higher level pro sports basically.
You just hear about the Iowa State and Iowa players more than your Iowa Cubs and your.
It's all like if we live near, if we were like in Chicago, we'd be huge Cub fans. We'd be Bears fan. These are our pro teams, and Purdy would be like Purdy's the Brett Favre of like Green Bay, and Brees Hall is literally like the Reggie Bush of Iowa State. Like looking back on it, imagine playing Brees Hall in the video game. Like, we remember playing as Reggie Bush, and Campbell's brought in a Reggie Bush to come to Iowa State, and it's honestly just crazy how it's came to be, and it's interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out in the next month or so.
Yeah, because they're still finalizing the fine print, figuring all that stuff out. But we all knew it was going to happen when players were going to get paid. About 15 years ago, we all knew it was going to happen. Just when it'll just be.
Yeah, it'll be so. Like that made me rethink this today, as we were preparing for this podcast, was which former player, like top. We'll just say a couple. Which players missed out on the most money if players could have been paid in the past? Like, we'll just say, like, whatever. Who's the first that comes to mind?
For some reason, the George Niang, just for how long he played. Because I was going to say, like, a Rice White, but he was just a transfer. He's a big-name guy, but only there for
4 months, 5 months.
Exactly. So who's going to be buying his jersey in that little short time period? But George Niang, Monte Morris, Matt Thomas, Naz Long, they were there.
All 4 years.
Day one, everyone knew they were going to be good players. It just
And George Yang was the top of all those players, like popularity-wise.
Yep.
The most charismatic player.
Just Iowa State and just the student section feeding off his energy on the floor and how he was, whether he was talking trash, he's he's quieting the Iowa student section, like that kind of stuff.
At it, yeah.
Exactly. And no different than I feel like he would be.
It would have been the top dog.
Oh, for sure. Everyone has a right.
And like that, you got a point there because of like the fan base. If you go to Tinsley and Visor, Seneca Wallace has an argument there.
I just feel like football revenue compared to basketball revenue is, especially in the college level.
But here's my argument. Seneca Wallace was like the best quarterback until Brock Purdy. So like, just think of how many jerseys, like we went through a span of rough Iowa State football. Let's just be honest. And Seneca Wallace was like the most popular Iowa State player.
People still wear his jerseys to games.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd be number one.
Because of longevity, because of taking into account we weren't very good, and he was just a spark of lightning.
Boom.
Yeah.
Put us on the map.
So exciting player. And, yeah, him. Yeah, George Yang is definitely up there because he just really soaked in the fan base. It was so good.
I just think with the advertising and just how ESPN and all those players, just with the NCAA, with March Madness, how they advertise players now and how many times you see like a Brock Purdy on ESPN, like compared to like it was 25 years ago. I think it's just different with the advertising of the players, and you get to see their players. You can see the players more with Twitter,
Access,
Instagram, access of seeing the players. I feel like more jerseys would be bought now, helping the players out compared to 25 years ago.
For sure. Yeah, I'd say Seneca Wallace and George Yang are top.
Oh, yeah.
The top. And Fred Hoiberg.
Hoiberg, yes.
4-year guy.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up an Iowa State fan. Was a ball boy. Was an Iowa State coach. I think he would have, like those top three.
You don't get the nickname the mayor from being a nobody.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
And we could throw Troy Davis in there too, but Iowa State, it was a different universe back then. Like, we were barely on TV.
That's exactly what I meant with the advertising of the players.
We were barely on TV. Imagine if Troy Davis was on TV and like it was on SportsCenter all the time, which
he'd be a Brees Hall today.
Yeah, it'd be because like 2,000 yards rushing 2 years in a row. That's only happened like
he's
twice.
one of two players that happened 3 years ago.
Yeah, which that's pretty impressive. Even if we were not very good.
No, we weren't the best.
I mean, it did like there's one game where he got like 50 plus carries against UNI. Yeah. Yeah, your dad played with him, right?
Yep, they were there the same year.
Yeah.
Yep. 96, 97, yep.
So I think, and like also like with the players getting paid, it made me think of like NFTs. Like for people who don't know what that is, it's like just think of a highlight. It's a virtual highlight, and it's like it's like kind of hard to explain. It's like
5-second clip, but your
like
best
the
play.
highlight, like the original file, the highlight that can be like a trade card, like so like a physical trade card, but it's like a virtual highlight. And my question to you is, what former Iowa State highlight NFT would have been like? What would be the most highly valued NFT right now as an Iowa State former players?
So the first thing that popped up in my head would be the Jeff Woody, Oklahoma State, biggest one in Iowa State history at the time.
Yeah.
I feel like we could argue we've had a couple better wins, but at the time, what our team was.
How shocking it was.
Backup quarterback, first start coming in, beating Oklahoma State,
yeah.
And he gets the touchdown to win the game against number 2 at the time, I believe, Oklahoma State.
Their only loss in the regular season. Broke the BCS.
You got Blackman, just an unbelievable receiver. You got the
Brand Whedon.
Unreal. And
yeah.
we come in.
We were like 35 plus point underdogs, and
I feel like that was just a trademark in Iowa State. For like when you see it was like on our billboards, it was on our posters forever. The field being stormed like that. That's just like it's in your head of that run.
Before Campbell showed up, that's the picture. If you Google Iowa State football, that was
the pinnacle of Iowa State football for a while.
If you Google Iowa State football, that's what shows up. But it's no longer the case. And my argument on that is, which I don't exactly disagree with you. I think Seneca Wallace, the run, would have been.
Yes, that is a good one up there too.
Because that play
Still is
like
relevant. Everyone knows the run.
Yeah.
You say the run today, and little 5th and 7th graders know exactly what.
Yeah, like just look up on YouTube. That was like growing up with YouTube. Like I didn't know what that was, and then finally YouTube came out where
That's what that is.
showed like my dad talked about Seneca Wallace. I had like a little Seneca Wallace jersey. I really didn't know Seneca like played, but like when YouTube came out, showed me the run, I'm like, wow,
Best play ever.
I was like, that's the best player I've ever seen. An Iowa State player did that.
And I feel like just at the time of where Iowa State tradition was, and like all of a sudden, like we're on the map with Iowa State with him, and like that big play kind of, you don't forget about it.
Yeah. So you think that one or Jeff Woody? What would you say?
I'm going with the run.
The run, yeah.
They're going with the run.
Because it's like just the play itself is so damn special.
It'll never happen again.
He like ran like 60 yards in like a 25-yard run.
Touchdown, yeah.
Yeah. Which,
I'd
and like
say-
the Pete Taylor call, I don't know if you
he's
recall
going
that
crazy.
one. Which it's like, what are you doing? And it's like,
He's freaking out.
Yeah. It's in our intro, actually. Yeah. It was a legendary call.
That play gets taken back with that blindside block on the
Yeah.
5-yard line. That's not a
He
touchdown
gets
anymore.
That guy gets suspended for the rest of the year with that block nowadays.
Dude's shoulder hits before his feet do.
But like, oh man, can't take that away from them. Though. Imagine that happened today. That gets called back because of that huge blindside block.
Yep.
That would have been sad.
Even for basketball, we were talking earlier before the podcast with Naslong's 3-pointers.
Yeah,
I'd for sure be one.
that's definitely like we could do like top 10, top 5 of these. Like that's top 5 for sure.
Oh.
Me and my brother might do a podcast on that game because that game was nuts. The craziest day.
I was getting ready for a wedding, all pissed off, little kid, watching it. We're going to lose to Oklahoma State. Just sitting there.
On senior day, Melvin Edgem, we can't just set him out this way.
What? And then
You watched it live?
watched the whole thing. I was pissed off. We were like down by 6 with like 10 seconds left. Hit a 3. Misses the free throw. Dribbling the ball up. Can't remember who he was going to pass it to. He had a guy open.
DeAndre Kane
on the right side refuses to pass the ball. I'm like, oh gosh, he's going to take the shot. Goes up with it.
cashes it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You were were you freaking out when you saw that?
Yes.
You just absolutely freaked
Running
out.
around the house
Really?
in middle school, running around the house.
Did your whole family watch it or was it just you?
They were all getting ready for the wedding too, so they're
Like,
kind of
Devon, get your pants on.
get on, come on now. But yeah,
Tie your shoes. It's like
we were late. We were late to the wedding, watching the rest of the overtime.
Really?
I was like, we gotta stay.
Whose wedding was it? Couldn't remember.
The game was more important. That's all.
Yeah.
At that age, it didn't matter.
It's like I don't want to go now.
Why are we here? We're watching the game.
It would have been really bad if we lost that overtime, which we pulled through and won it. Yeah, that game. That's basketball wise. I've been to a lot of good games. That might be number 1.
You were at that game.
Yeah, me and Craig. I was putting my coat on.
Yeah. All
Phil
pissed
Forte.
off.
Phil Forte, 93% free throw shooter. Like only missed like 10 the whole year. I think he missed a couple that game too.
Yep.
Misses it. Goes down. It just craziness. That was awesome. So that definitely is the top 3.
I don't know if it'd be like a top one, but just what sticks out in my head would just be that Alan Lazard catch against Oklahoma, back of the end zone, ripping the ball away, and then him
Crawling.
he's a dog, he's a beast. Crawling is like, okay, that touchdown was good, but just his celebration to add on to that would be, it'd be up there for sure.
Yeah, we got really good ones there. Deontay Burton's dunk versus West Virginia, sealed the deal in the Big 12 championship game.
Slammed it.
Just catches it in midair, cocks it back, hammers it on their best shot blocker in the Big
Unreal.
12. I was there too. I was at that game too. That was also insane.
Monte Morris, I think it'd be his junior year in the Big 12 tournament. This little step back,
Texas.
Was that the finals? That was the semifinals.
That was the first game.
That was the first game, quarterfinal. Okay.
That was the first game of the week, and funny you say that. We didn't lead until that shot.
Whole game.
We did not play good at all that game. Yeah, that was. I I can't. That was the start of the last run for Fred. That was the first game of the Big 12 tournament that
We won that tournament.
Yeah.
Feel like that was the year where Perry Ellis was hurt. We beat Kansas in the finals.
No, they were full bore. No, you're thinking of Joel Embiid the year before, Andrew Wiggins.
Yep.
That was fun. That was fun too. That was a fun time. I can't really think of any other ones.
Nothing that really sticks out right now.
Yeah, the run and Jeff Woody. Yeah, those two. You could argue the Marcus Fizer dunk versus Texas. That was a big one. I mean, you were probably like two, three. Which that, like,
what was that, 2000 or 2001?
1999, 2000.
2000, yep.
Year we went to the Elite Eight. Yeah, that was a fun topic to talk about. Thinking if there was a auction of NFT former highlights, like what would be the top one?
That's even like a Jamal Tinsley when he's dribbling down. No one can steal the ball from him. He's just dribbling it.
Against Colorado.
He's on the ground, just showing how athletic he was compared to everyone else on the court. Like he could do whatever he wanted.
It was like the very end of the game. He's just schooling these guys. I'm not sure why East Station even had him out there. We were up like 25, I think. Just
for some reason that always in the back of my mind, just like ball handling and just body awareness is awesome.
Because the level and the insanity, like how the ball handling and of the video itself, like there's no other video out there like that.
It looks like a Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, just an Iowa State guy fooling around with Big 12 players, making them foolish in a Big 12 game, just
because he can.
Which that's why I argue he's the best point guard ever played at Iowa State. It's a close race between him and Monte, but
depends what you're looking for. Yep.
Yeah, which just pure dominance, and I think he takes the cake.
That switch.
Yeah. So, oh man, so, yeah. There's not a lot going on at Iowa State right now. We're just basically waiting patiently till the start of the season.
Just hope everyone stays healthy.
Yeah.
Get everyone going into week one being healthy.
Yeah, 4th of July coming up, 4th of July weekend. I feel like after the 4th of July is when things ramp up and people get excited.
Yep.
Every week it's closer. I think this Saturday will be 9 weeks before kickoff, which we got the Texas Tech one coming up that
You said
day.
9 weeks?
9 weeks this Saturday, which, you being in football too, that's exciting too, which will be exciting to. I don't know if you had fans. Did you have fans last?
They're in the spring. We did, yeah.
In the spring?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had fans. It'd be nice to have. And, of course,
we're expected full stadium.
Yeah, Devon plays in Grandview, for people didn't know.
Yep.
And, of course, the Grandview bye lines up exactly.
Iowa State bye.
Exactly the same as Iowa State.
Got to come to a couple games this year with a shortened season in the fall.
Yeah.
We came to I come to 3.
You came to the Baylor game. You came to the West Virginia game.
2 games.
2 of them, which those are fun games, I think.
Baylor was a little scary for a second.
Yeah. Well, maybe me and you can review that game since me and you were at that game. That was a dicey game, but.
And you look at the score at the end of the game.
Yeah. We were walking out like, oh, thank God. We're glad we just.
That first quarter, I was, here we go again.
Yeah, it was still a fun time, I guess.
I felt like I was the karma.
Yeah.
For 4 years going to games. How many games did we win? Michael's Hole.
A lot. I don't think we saw one win. It was against. Funny enough, it was against Campbell. Yep. It was Campbell's his infamous. I walked around the tailgates. It was a beautiful day. Cyclone Nations. You got the Cyclone Nation walk, and that's the reason why I came to Iowa State. That was that day. It was where we finally saw Iowa State go over the hump. And it was Toledo. It was Matt Campbell at the helm and Toledo with running back Kareem Hunt. And we pulled out a victory with all yellow jerseys.
Mustard yellow.
And I'm sure Campbell looked at that. He's like, I'm going to come here and just completely rebrand the jerseys and stuff because that was ugly.
We had no idea.
Yeah, we had no idea what. Just thinking back on that day, man, that was a one of the biggest days. If that story's true, that's like one thing that I thought of like a couple weeks ago. Just like what falls in line of like why things happen. Imagine if it was a crappy day that day, and Campbell never goes like walking around the tailgates. Like we've had our history of bad tailgating because of weather, and if that doesn't happen, maybe Campbell takes the Missouri job instead.
Well, just him being at Toledo at the time, just with our recruiting process. For those that don't know much goes into that, just with players getting picked up, getting visits, like just how everything works out is crazy.
Yeah.
And how we're here now. We got the whole recipe, got all the ingredients to success.
And we just got things going down the tracks, and man, it'll
be exciting.
It's the most, I can't, like every day I get a little more excited every day. Just like I can smell the grill on the tailgates. Just like, it's going to be just a big old party. Because like, it'll be like a reunion for a lot of people who haven't seen each other in so long.
Yep.
And we finally get to come together as like a big Cyclone Nation family.
There was no tailgating last year.
No. I mean, there was like
but there wasn't.
Underground Railroad tailgating.
Little speakeasies across the.
Yeah. I mean, I already had COVID, so like I didn't really worry about that. So like we had the free go of that. Well, yeah, it was like a weird fun because like.
Are we supposed to be doing this? Are we feeling it out? Right.
Felt like we were partying in the, what do you call it? Like when we no longer had alcohol. What's that called? The Prohibition?
Prohibition.
Yeah. It felt like that kind of like.
Prohibition.
It did. We were like, oh yeah, we're doing it anyways. Yeah. I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
Get back to normal and back to regular tailgating and regular games. It's for Iowa State top 10 team, top 5 possibly.
Iowa's top.
Iowa game. The next game after you and I will be
unreal.
It'll be
probably the best energy in a Cy-Hawk game.
Yeah, ever. It will be the first. It will be the first game, like the Cy-Hawk game, where both teams are ranked.
Yep.
Ever.
Really.
Might be a top 15 matchup, which to make that jump from no ranked teams, no ranked matchups to top 15 matchup, that's
unreal.
That's unheard of, which I can't wait. And I just want to thank my childhood friend who's kind of nervous before this podcast.
A little nervous.
Which, I mean,
we got through it.
We got through it, and he'll be on. If he didn't have 17 years to play in college because of COVID, now he gets his year back. He's going back to college, which he could have been. We'll have you on.
Oh yeah.
Every once in a while this fall. Get your intake since you're a football player.
Just watching
the best team possibly of our lifetime again. We got to beat last year's team somehow, which I think we can. And I appreciate you guys listening. And yeah, we this helmet is brought to you by Jack Sports. Jack Sports is my uncle and little cousin's business. They sell little helmets. They sell, like, you can get flags, you can get little helmets. Like if you have like a custom helmet you want to make of your high school team, it's a really cool thing to have like on your desk, which I think.
Little memorabilia.
And it's legit. Like this Iowa State helmet is insane. I don't know if you, for your Iowa State fans don't like the black helmets, they have the white helmets and yeah, it's a great little company that my
customizable.
My uncle and my little cousin made, and it's really cool. And if you guys want to go support them and they have awesome gear, and check them out on Facebook. You just type in Jack Sports, and thanks to Devon to be on this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Taking the leap of fear, and I think it went pretty well. Devon has a knowledgeable guy, and we got a huge podcast coming up next. Which is a guy that I grew up just idolizing, and to think we're going to have him on this early was insane, and you guys can look forward to that one coming up. And I appreciate you guys listening.